Good afternoon. I would like to welcome you to the 70th annual meeting of North Central Electric Cooperative. I'm Pat Woods. I serve as the board president, and on behalf of the board and staff of North Central, your cooperative, we welcome you. At this time, I would like to call this annual meeting to order, and at this time, I also would like to call on our CEO, Kevin Doddridge, to come.
Thank you. If you'll give me a second to set up shop. You'll see me bend down to pick up stuff from time to time, so bear with me. I kind of want to echo Pat's comments. We welcome you to our annual meeting. We regrettably have to apologize for the format. We were told by the governor's office a week ago Monday that we would not be able to facilitate a meeting in here where the members were allowed to come in and participate. We were capped at 10 people, I believe, to come in here. And once we get in here and we have the board of directors in here, we just can't accommodate the membership. Pursuant to the bylaws and state laws, though, we are to have an annual meeting, so we're going to attempt to have one as best that we can. We'll give you a virtual experience that we hope will, maybe I'll have a message that answers your questions, and if not, you can go to our website, email us, and ask any questions that you may have. Most of the materials I'm working for, if not all of them, will be available on our website, including our financials, part of my report, and some staff reports as well. So it's already on there, I've been told. So feel free to take a look at it at your leisure. As we do every annual meeting, I'd like to open it with an invocation. So if you will, would you pray with me, please? Our Lord and our God, we come to you in difficult times. We come to you realizing that everything you've given us is a true gift, even in this day. We come to you thanking you for these gifts, thanking you for the day that we can serve you and serve our fellow man. Lord, as most of us woke up in a nice home, please help us remember those that did not. Lord, as many of us have eaten today, please keep us ever mindful that there are those who were unable to do so. Lord, as we reflect upon our many blessings, let us be ever mindful. Let us not forget those that are struggling so during these difficult times. Lord, we hope that you look down upon this meeting and that we conduct itself in a manner that is pleasing in your sight. It is in your name that we pray. Amen. Looking at our agenda, this is typically when we have the reading of the minutes from the previous year's annual meeting. We can have those read, or they can be dispensed of by proper motion. We have a motion by Director Don Dickerson. Is there a second? A second by Director Phil Lashashay. Is there any discussion on that matter? Seeing none, are there any opposed to accepting the minutes? Hearing no opposition, the minutes are accepted. Now we have received proxies in through the mail. They have been verified by our Elections and Credentials Committee, and now is when we want to confirm that we have a quorum that is present. I've been in conversation with Rita Hobbs, who is chairperson of the Elections Credentials Committee, and she has assured us that a quorum is indeed in representation today. Sorry to disappear for a minute. I like to be accurate when I speak, so accuracy usually requires a couple of notes in front of me. So, once again, I'll reiterate how happy we are that you're able to be with us in this virtual environment for our 70th annual meeting. And often when I do this little talk, I like to go back in time to a certain extent and see where we were some years ago. I go back about 50 years. Everything's kind of relevant on this rainy day. As I go back 50 years, I'm reminded that the number one single was Raindrops Keep Falling on Our Head, which I think was performed by B.J. Emerson. The Orioles won the World Series over the Reds, and Ole Miss football went 7-4 in Archie Manning's senior season a team that also featured Kroll Armstrong, who has done a lot of government relation work for the electric cooperatives. But 50 years ago was 1970, and at that time, North Central Electric Power Association had a total plant of $2.8 million. North Central can't build a substation for $2.8 million right now. They're north of $3 million. So it gives you some indication, if you look at our physical plant now as compared to 50 years ago, how much we've grown. North Central also owed $2.8 million, so there was a net zero gain there. We had electric revenue for the year of 1970 in the total amount of $800,000. Right now, North Central gets $800,000 in revenue in 3 days. We had 4,400 accounts back in 1970 compared to the over 33,000 that we have right now. I'll move into our financial statements, and these will be on the website. They are right now for you to look at, but I'll give you some highlights. For fiscal year 2020, that's the year that ended at the end of June 2020, our plant was at $188 million, and that's up $10 million from last year. Now, if you were to look at national statistics, which I do quite often, if you look at the value of our plant and how that plant generates kilowatt hour sales, we're in the bottom 10% as far as amount of plant to generate kilowatt hour sales throughout the country, which means we're doing more with less. Most co-ops to generate kilowatt hour sales have to have a lot more investment in plant than we do. Cash is at roughly $6.4 million. That's down significantly from last year. We had a power bill at about $6 million. Once again, our cash ratios are in the bottom 10%, once again signifying that we're trying to do more with less and that we don't keep a lot of cash on hand. Our long-term debt at North Central is $22.8 million. That's up $1.5 million from last year. Once again, if you look at a co-op the size of North Central and the amount of debt that they have on their books, we're in the bottom 10%. Once again, we're doing more with less debt. We're spending a lot of cash. Now, whether that's the best way to do it, we kind of garner that every year and take a look at it. There are those that say that we probably should operate more off borrowed money, but right now we're still looking for that balance. We had sales at $103 million. That was roughly the same as last year, and our purchase power was down slightly. Our operation and maintenance expense, though, was up roughly 30%, and a lot of that was by design. We made the decision that we wanted to really get aggressive in our maintenance program, and that's something that if you're a co-op of 70 years, you really have to look at. I'll talk a lot about the investment in plant and how we're growing, but we have to maintain what we already have. So we had a significant ramp up in maintenance, specifically right-of-way trimming, and that's really helped us as far as reliability in the last fiscal year. Last month's meeting was 12 months ago, but I got to be honest, it has been a long, strange trip since then. Things changed rapidly. We did some things that we had planned on. In February, we made a name change. We left North Central Electric Power Association and changed our name to North Central Electric Cooperative. That's a name that we think really exemplifies who we are, and we felt that it was important to do that. At the same time, we rolled out a wholly owned subsidiary company called North Central Connect. Using this affiliate, we're going to be able to provide high-speed internet services to our membership. Not long after we made these two announcements and set up this affiliate, the wheels ran off. And I'm sure you all know what I'm about to say. And it's my answer to the majority of questions that I've had the last 10 months. COVID. COVID hit us in March, much like everyone else. It affected everything that we were doing at the time and everything that we did since then. Immediate measures were taken to mediate the effects of the virus. We started working in shifts. We started working from home. Every decision that we made operationally in planning and going forward involved how to mitigate the virus. Our number one goal was to make sure that we protected all of our employees and that we protected the membership. I've got to give you a status on where we are now. and we're not in a good place right now. The infectious rate has been steadily on the rise, and as far as employees and people in our community, we're seeing a tremendous amount of infections. Right now, our workforce is affected somewhere between 15 and 20%. If you think I should be able to nail that number down a little bit more exact, I can't, because we have people being tested right now. From day to day, we're not exactly sure what the effects are, and that's how we're managing the virus right now, is day to day. We knew things were going to be strange in 2020 when we had a tornado in January. Tornado that knocked out a lot of power to a lot of people in the Lewisburg community and the Cedar View community. It took us about 5 days of storm restoration to get that everything placed back like it was supposed to be. This storm could have been a lot worse, though, and could have affected a lot worse had we not gotten overly aggressive in our right-of-way maintenance program. And that was pointed out to us by many different people. As we've moved through the year, like I said, we didn't just sit back and get nothing accomplished, but everything was affected by the virus, especially trying to plan storm relief. And if you've been keeping up with the tropics and keeping up with the south part of the state, you'll know that we've had to go work storm relief on multiple occasions, whether it be Louisiana, Alabama, and currently we're looking to send crews to South Mississippi as Hurricane Zeta comes up through Louisiana and hits Gulfport and other parts of the state. This is particularly hard to do because we're trying to evaluate our resources that we'll have here due to the virus and potential quarantines. We're also looking at the exposure that our employees have as they go off, living conditions, the tent cities, the ability or inability to space. It's been difficult decisions to make, but consistently North Central goes and helps other cooperatives in storm relief. They help us when we need it, we help them. We want to make sure that even though they're not members of our cooperative, they are members of the cooperative family, and we try to help them out in their time of need. We continued planning, and for the upcoming year, 2021, we have an upcoming budget that's going to be somewhere around $112 million. This will have a capital budget that'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of $24 million. Now, I've explained to y'all in previous meetings that we don't always, if we budget a certain amount of capital, we will start prioritizing projects. Sometimes we may build out a $10 or $13 million capital budget. Sometimes we will not. Last year we budgeted for $13 million. We built out 10. This year we're budgeting for 24, and it's so much more because we're probably looking at about $12 million in fiber cost. I'll talk about that in more detail later. We have plans to completely refurbish our Byhalia substation, which is going to make it a more reliable station, more able to handle some of the growth going on in that area. And we've acquired property, and right now we're in the planning stage to build and complete our North DeSoto substation. So those are things that we're doing here at North Central, the electric cooperative. Even though the virus has affected us, we're still making sure that we can grow, making sure that the bills are getting paid, the cash is coming in, we're still relatively liquid. We had some uncertainty during the virus. We had a period where we could not collect bills. We had some cash flow concerns, not true issues, but concerns. And most of that we have behind us. So we are moving forward confidently. One of the biggest questions that we've had will be the affiliate that we started, North Central Connect. So I will point out, North Central Connect really isn't a part of this annual meeting, but in that the cooperative owns this affiliate and is the 100% ownership, I will give you some information on it that I think is pertinent, and I hope I'll answer some of your questions. Right now, North Central Connect, we've identified 3 phases, and at the moment they are all either under construction or we're completing the design of them. Most of these phases are in the Byhalia area, moving north out of Byhalia, west out of Byhalia. These areas were chosen because they are areas where other internet service providers simply aren't available. Yes, we probably could have made a decision to move into more of a densely populated area with a product that could probably produce more revenue in the first year. But the reason we chose to not is we always acknowledged on the very beginning, this was a rural project. This is a project to attempt to get high-speed internet to those that don't have it. So that's where we're starting. Now, we intend to continue to build to the west and to the north, maybe to the populations that are slightly more dense. The reason we're doing this is If we're going to spend $15 million a year running fiber to the homes of our members, we will have to have some source of revenue to offset these costs. So we'll move into areas with a slightly denser population. We do have a 5-year plan, could be a 6-year plan. It's roughly $125 million. But what I like to tell people as Mr. Payne, I just spoke with him in the lobby. Mr. Payne has always had questions about high-speed internet, and he's been very patient but wants it in his neighborhood. And I say, if this is a successful project, which defines success, and it's going to be a take rate, we need at least 7 accounts per mile of line to make it even viable. If we get greater participation, then there's a very good chance that we could actually ramp up this project, bring in more and more resources, and maybe try to get this project built out quicker than 5 years. But for now, we're having to act responsible with our members' money, and make sure that we do this in a very cautious way. As I like to always tell people, if you want to know where you fall in this project, please go to the North Central website. It can direct you to the North Central Connect website. Go directly to the Connect website, and there are maps that that give you information on where the projects are. I've been told these maps are going to be upgraded, and they will be more and more interactive. And if you find in there where you can sign up or where you can show interest, please do so, because we take that information, and where areas where we have greater interest, there's a good chance we may go there before we go to some other areas. So sign up to show interest. It's not a commitment to buy the product, but what it does, it tells us where you are, the products that you're looking for, and may give us some indication of how we should get there. As I like to close out every year, I'd like to say that we had a particularly good year safety-wise. Here at North Central, we don't strive for just 0 contacts. We want 0 instances. We want to protect everyone. Often when you talk about a safety program, you're talking about your crews, their proximity to energized lines, etc. But we take into account everything. We want 0 instances. Everyone. We celebrated this several weeks ago, had a great speaker, talked about violence in the workplace, spent a lot of time, not on just how you handle it when it occurs, but how you make sure it doesn't occur in the first place. How you make sure that you don't let small instances accelerate and get out of control. That's trying to protect our people in the field. It's also protecting our people in the office. At North Central, safety means that we are going to adhere to 100% of the rules, 100% of our community, 100% of our employees, and we're going to do that 100% of the time. Now is when I usually stop and I'll ask if we have any questions from the membership, and I regret we're not able to do that this year. A lot of times we get really good ideas from our members, and we may have to come up with an event later in the year where we can kind of have that back and forth a little bit. I mentioned Mr. Payne, who always talks about high-speed internet. We also had some very good questions last year about trying to come up with products and putting on workshops and town hall meetings where we can discuss with people energy efficiency. And a lot of the people thought that we ought to have programs that we can design for the senior citizens to show them, how to conserve electricity on a fixed income. A lot of that went into the planning process, and like my answer's been to a lot of things, COVID has just limited the amount of time and the places where we can get together. But we remember those things. We remember complain about our right-of-way. And so that always helps us on how we handle our right-of-way program moving forward and how to continuously stay engaged with our membership as they have concern as we have to come in and maintain our lines. We probably would have some questions regarding Connect. And to kind of simplify that thing, we're going to run fiber. If you'll show that you have an interest and you want service from Connect, then we're going to we're going to run the fiber, as I say, down the road. If you show interest, then we're going to come out one day and we're going to run fiber to your home. And then when we think we've got that fiber to your home, it is lit, it is tested, then we'll ask you for a time when we can do an install and get you the high-speed internet product. To this point, you've not had to pay a thing if you're a customer. We're not asking you to pay for the cost of the fiber run to your home. We're not asking you to pay the cost of the electronics once it's in your home. We ask that you pay for the monthly bill that we send you, But everything up to that point, there's no upfront money. And I'm sure a lot of people are still very curious about when this product will get to their home. And as I continually say and will continue to say, we've got maps. We do our best to update them as we plan. Please go to our website, look at the maps, put in your address, see where you fall into our planning phase, and then if you have an interest, show your interest, because if a lot of people show interest in one area, our planning could change a little bit. So I've answered questions that we had from last year, tried to anticipate some from this year, and I'm sure that you can go to our website and find a place where you can make comments, email us if you have any questions, and hopefully we won't have to do this again. I regret it, but as I talk about, when I talk about safety, our number one concern is safety, not just of our employees and our board of directors, but you, our membership. And even though there was a governor's mandate, we still want to go over and beyond that to make sure that you're safe. So as I like to tell our employees, I'll share with our membership, wash your hands, keep your distance, please be careful out there. Thank you. It's at this time that we will see if we have any news from the door prizes.
We're going to take those that we have out there and put them in here with these.
All right, so they're going to accumulate all that. And what we will do is, if you win a door prize, we've got your contact information. We will contact you and let you know if you've received a door prize. Now, what we need to do is see, is there any information from our Elections and Credentials Committee regarding the results of our election?
Let me go get Miss Rita.
And for this, we will hear directly from Rita Hobbs the results. If this was radio, we would call it dead air. So Rita Hobbs, who chairs our Elections Credentials Committee, has entered the room, and she will give the results over the microphone, so you will soon hear her voice.
Hello. Yes, there is a quorum present.
All right. And has the voting ended?
Yes. The voting has ended, and I don't have an official count yet, but
Okay.
it has ended.
So we'll recess until there's an official count.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we'll come out of recess, and I notice that Rita Hobbs, Chairman of Elections Credentials Committee, appears to be with us with the results of the vote count. Rita, can you make that report for us, please?
Sure. We had 2,197 that voted, so that is indeed the quorum. So the directors, Pat Woods, Tony Taylor, and Ricky Jones, all had equal votes, 2,197.
Great. So those are proxy votes that came in on behalf of current board members.
That's correct.
So we will need our board to acknowledge that and vote their proxies. So I just ask, since we have just 3 incumbent candidates, does this board vote their proxies as presented to our Elections and Credentials Committee? We can just do that on a motion, second, and vote. Have a motion by the chairman of the board. Is there a second? Second by Director LaChaussee. Any discussion on accepting the proxy vote? Having heard none, anyone in objection to accepting the proxy vote? All right, and that vote is accepted. Thank you very much. That concludes that report, and that concludes the business of the 70th North Central Electric Cooperative Annual Meeting. Once again, I regret that we had to use this platform. Stay careful, and hopefully we can get back together next year. Thank you.